the work table, we are going to cut a 6 pieces blouse with a princess dart. And usually I'll first of all take my horizontal measurement. This is my bust point, but on the bust, the waistline using is 16 inches, then the waistline and the full length of the blouse. Now go ahead and make it into a straight line. I'm using 8 inches for the chest line, which is 2 inches above my bust point, which is 10 inches. That's 10 inches for the bust point, 13 inches for the under bust, and then 16 inches for the waist. And the full length I'm going to use here is 24 inches. So that's the vertical measurement I'll need here. I'm making use of the whole paper for the full length. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to take my neckline measurement. I'm using 3 by 3 inches. This is just a preamble because I'm not going to use this neckline. So now I'll go ahead and measure my shoulder divided by 2, which is 7.5. I marked it there. Then on the chest line, I'll mark the same 7.5 inches there and make it into a straight line, so that will serve as my armhole. Now I'll go ahead and get the midpoint of my armhole, the shoulder slope. I come down by 1 inch at the shoulder and connect it to the neckline. So the next step is to get my armhole curve. I get the midpoint of the armhole, come in by 1/2 inch. And next step is to connect the dot to with my curve rule. That's my armhole curve. Now from the bust point, I'll measure my nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2. Mine is 4 inches. I'll mark 4 inches at the bust point, at the under bust, the waistline, and the full length of the blouse. So having done that, I'll connect it and make it into a straight line like so. Connect the dots together. Alright, to get your bust point, you have to measure your nipple to nipple divided by 2. Mine is 8 inches and divided by 2 is 4 inches. So that's it. Then from the armhole curve, I'll connect the midpoint to the chest line. That from the midpoint of the armhole, I'll connect it to the that at the chest line. Then I'll come down by 1 inch and connect it to the bust point like so. Come down by 1 inch. So because I come down by 1 inch at the armhole, I will extend the length by 1 inch. I'll extend it by 1 inch and connect it like so. So this will serve as the new armhole curve. I could make a curve from there and connect it to the chest line. Right now, the next step is to get my dart. From the center front, I'm marking 1/2 inch for my dart, 1/2 inch, and at the side front I mark 1.5 inch, making it 2 inches. All right, so I'll go ahead and extend it. I'll go ahead and extend it there. So from there, I'll connect it to the bust point. I'll connect the both darts to the bust point like so. So now I'll go ahead and extend the dart leg to the full length of the blouse. So in order to make it easy, I'll also gonna get my 1/2 inch at the center front and 1.5 inch at the side front. So I'll connect the dart leg to it. Now that's it. So the next step I'm going to do is to shade my dart. This shaded part is the part I'm going to cut off. All right, okay. So the next step is to get my horizontal measurements. From the bust point, I'll measure my bust divided by 4 inches plus sewing allowance. Although I'm not adding sewing allowance in this paper because it's not enough, but I just going tracing on my fabric. So at the waistline, I divided my waist by 4 plus the dart taking, which is 2 inches dart. I'll mark it and do the same thing as the hip line. Okay, so I go ahead and connect the dots together. This is basically all for this. So having done that, from the difference between the front blouse and the back pattern is 1 inch because I'm using 24 inches for the front neck full length and the back is 23 inches, so the difference is 1 inch. So I'm coming down by 1 inch at the bust point. I come down by 1 inch and connect it to the dart as I've already done. So I'll go ahead and cut out the dart, right? Cut it off like so, from the armhole to the shoulder and to the neck. I'll cut it off, then go ahead the other side like so. So as you can see, my bust point is a bit pointy, but use your mirror and make a curve there. I purposely want to leave it like that because I want the bust point to be pointy. So now this is it. I'm cutting my dart, so I'll go ahead and close the dart. I'm closing it up, then I'll connect it. This is it. This is it. You can actually notch the bust point, and I'll make an arrow there. So now the back pattern, this is the back measurement: inches for the chest line, 16 inches for the waist, and 3 inches for the full length. Remember, I used 24 for the front, and this back I'm using 23 for the full length. So this is it, and this is my zipper allowance. Now that's basically all for the vertical measurement. Now go ahead and mark my neckline. I'm using 3 by 3 inches for the neckline at the back. Okay, so 3 by 3 inches. I'll go ahead and connect it with a curve rule. I'll make a curve there. So then I'll get my shoulder measurement, shoulder divided by 2. All right, then I mark my 7.5 inches and also marked it at the chest line, okay, to create my armhole curve. All right, then I'll go ahead and get my nipple to nipple measurement, which is 4 inches. I'll mark this at the chest line and at the waist and at the full length. Remember, all the measurement I'm taking is after the zipper allowance. So I'll go ahead and make it into a straight line. I'm just trying to create a normal dart here, just a normal dart. So I'll create my armhole curve and connect it to the chest line. So this is basically all for it. Now at the armhole, I'll mark my midpoint at the armhole and connect it to the chest line. Okay, so having done that, I will extend it by 1 inch because that's what I do at the front. Just like in the front, I extend by 1 inch and connect it to the armhole. This is basically serve as my new armhole. Then I'll take half an inch at the both sides from the waist. I'll take half an inch and connect it to the chest line, right? Just connect it to the chest line on the both sides. Half inch at the waistline and connect it to the chest line. All right, then I also do the same at the full length and extend the dart to the full length of the blouse. This is just a normal back dart. This is what I'm creating here, just normal one. So I'll connect it together, and that's basically all for the back pattern. So the next step is to get my horizontal measurement from my chest line. I divide my bust by 4 and mark it there. Also do the same at the waistline and add my dart, which is 1 inch. I also do the same at the full length of the blouse. I'll connect it. As you can see, this back pattern don't have enough allowance, and I will surely add allowance when tracing it on my fabric. All right, so this is basically all for the back pattern. So the next step is to cut it off. Okay, I'll come up by 1 inch at the front side. Before then, I'll come up by 1 inch at the center back and make a front, make a curve at it to the that line. This is to prevent it from having a pointy edge, but I think this doesn't have any effect on this particular 6 pieces blouse. So I'll go ahead and cut out the dart. I'll cut it off like so. Then I cut it gently, then to the armhole. From the armhole, I'll extend it to the cut out the neckline and the shoulder sloped. So this is it. This is the back pattern of my outfit. Now go ahead and match it. Look at the back. This is the back and this is the front pattern. This is the back pieces and this is the front pattern. As you can see, they are all the same length. Now I'm going to use this Mikado material for the drafting of these back pieces and of course a matching lining. So now I'll go ahead and use my pattern paper and trace out the it out on the fabric from the waistline out from the hip line. I'm marking 4 inches and connect it to the waistline just like so. This is the center front. As you can see, how I added this extra 4 inches only at the side. It not add on the front. And remember that my fabric is on fold, so when I open it, it will be like this. Okay, now to create my slits from the center, I will make a little dart from the center of this front pattern, the center front, and I cut off the half an inch from there. Just cut it off and make sure you stop at the waistline just like I did. For the neckline, I'll come down by 6 inches, and from the shoulder line of the neck I come down by 6 inches and connect it to the right shoulder measurement just like this. Okay, and then I'll cut it off. This is the neckline I'm going to use for this particular style. All right, so this is just it. Then I'll go ahead and trace out the other pattern. Remember, my fabric is on fold, so from there I'll connect from the waist to the hip line, which I extended by 4 inches. 4 inches at the both side. I extended by 4 inches, and then I connect it to the both side. So this is just it. All right, okay, so that's just it. This is the center front and this is the part, the center front. I've already drafted it. All right, so this is it. All right, now this is the zipper area, the center back, the zipper side. I've already drafted the two parts, and I prefer tracing it with my chalk so that I can cut it without the pattern. The material is a kind of sticky one, so if you really want to cut it with a pattern, you can hold it with your office pin. So that's why I'm drafting it, because I'm not holding it with the office pin. I need to draft it so that I can cut it easily without the pattern. So this is it. All right, so I equally do the same at the center back. So this is it. This is the front pattern and this is the back pattern. So this is just it. Now the next step is to join it together. This is the front. I'll go ahead and trace it with my pattern paper. That's why I don't need to discard it, because you need it. So I'll trace it with my pattern paper. But for the easy joining, you have to notch it. If you are, when you're cutting it, you just notch it. But now I did not know this. I just want to arrange it, and with my chalk I mark it. From the strategic point, I mark the waist to the waist, the bust point to bust point. I just indicate my chalk there so that I will place them perfectly and sew together. Alright, so just it, ensuring that I place it rightly from the waist. I join the waist from the waist to the bust point and chest line. So I've already joined one part of it. This is it. Then I'll equally do that in the other part. I'll join it together, indicating the points with my chalk. Then I will place it perfectly and sew it together. So this is it. All right. Okay, this is just it. Right, I'm holding this with my office pin. So I'll hold it. I'll go ahead and sew it. Alright, so I'll sew it. You can see it. I'll sew it. And this particular one, I didn't add any backup on it. You can feel free to add yours. Now this is the lining. I've equally joined the lining. So the next step is to join the lining to the front pattern, and this is the back pattern. So also join the linings with it, and you can see from the lining is a bit shorter than the main fabric. Alright, so this is just for you to lap on the pattern. So I've joined the back pattern. This is the back pattern. I'll go ahead and join this, and also join the front pattern, just so around the waist. And this is it. This is the back one. I've joined it and give it a good press. And see how neatly it is. Alright, so this is it. Now I'll go ahead and do the same with the front pattern. This is the front pattern. I've already placed the lining on the front pattern, right side facing each other. Then the next thing is to trim the lining length, so that I will go so along the neckline, along the two sides, and also cover the open slit. So that's it. Now as you're sewing this, ensure that you place the darts facing each other. Just place the dart. If you can hold it with your office pin, hold it, so you achieve a perfect stitch there. The dart to the dart, the lining dart to the fabric dart, you sew it together. All right, so the neckline and this cover the slit. I've already done that, and this is it. And the next step is to join the patterns together. This is the back pattern and this is the front. To join it together, I place the right side facing each other. Then I use one of the lining and cover it. Then just like I'm doing, just take one of the lining, wrap it around the shoulder, and sew it. I'll go ahead and sew it. Now the next thing is to draw our sleeve. The sleeve, I'm using the length of 28 inches for the length of this sleeve. You know, it's a kind of puffy sleeve. Then and a kind of A-line shape. So after sewing that, I'll go ahead and hold it with an elastic so that you can draw it backward. So this is just the sleeve. Alright, this is just it. Thank you so much for watching. See you in my next video, and please kindly subscribe. Bye.